Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official solar system planets rating here in 2024, where I rank all 8 of the planets in our solar system from worst to first. And no, I'm not including Pluto. At this time, it is not a planet, but I've always loved space, the different planets. They're beautiful, they're unique, and the idea of living on another planet, it's just so foreign, it's almost inconceivable, and technically right now it is inconceivable. There's nowhere for us to live here as humans on Earth, but I'm going to be ranking all of the planets not based on the potential for human life, just based on my own various factors, how beautiful they look and things like that. Yes, I will also be factoring in the livability of the planets to a degree, but we will be beginning at number 8, and the worst planet to me, it is Mercury, unfortunately. The moon look-alike. It is the closest planet to the sun, and it's either extremely hot or extremely cold, depending on which side of Mercury you're on. There is the idea that maybe we could travel directly into the middle of Mercury and possibly be able to land on it and maybe have livable conditions, but overall Mercury, based on its temperature variability, is not livable. And the reason it's last, it's basically a moon 2.0. It's got giant craters all over it, and I love the moon, but if you're asking me to rank planets, I have to put it at number 8 because it's a moon look-alike and it is also very small. Moving on to number 7, it is Uranus, the ice giant, the gas giant. It's always tough with the gas planets because technically humans really cannot land on them. This is a freezing cold planet. I do like the colors of it, kind of like a faded out light blue. It spins on its side, which I kind of view as a negative, just weird, and it also has a ring system. I'm really not a fan of the ring system outside of Saturn personally, so for me Uranus comes in at number 7. Moving on to number 6, it is the hottest planet in our solar system, Venus, the closest thing to hell, as I like to say. Yes, the Soviet Union did once land a little rover on Venus that immediately burnt up. There is this photo that a lot of people always share. I always see it floating around X, but I believe this photo is kind of like a composite to where they took several different photos and spliced them together, but this is like the only photo we have of the surface of Venus from like a human level perspective. So it is pretty cool, but it's extremely hot. It's not livable at all, but it is crazy considering how close Venus and the Earth are. You know, when you take a look at Venus and it's just a complete hellscape compared to the Earth, we know it is extremely livable with perfect temperatures for life. Another interesting thing about Venus, its atmosphere has been said to be very Earth-like, and NASA has even pondered the possibility of putting some type of aerial blimp in its atmosphere, in its clouds. Would be pretty crazy, but Venus overall is very boring. It comes in at number 6. Moving on to number 5, it is the gas giant, the biggest planet in our solar system, Jupiter. You take a look at the comparison to Earth, it is remarkable. It's inconceivable how big Jupiter is. We really can't even scale it. It's kind of like the sun with how big Jupiter is, and the never-ending storm, kind of one of the famous aspects of Jupiter, but it is a gas planet. You can't land on it. Looking at it from space and looking at an aerial view of Jupiter, it's always reminded me of layers in a rock. It is very cool, and I'm ranking it at number 5. Moving on to number 4, it is Mars. Now, originally I did have Mars a little bit lower, but the idea of Mars being located next to the Earth, possibly being able to sustain some type of human life. It does reach, imagine this, 78 degrees Fahrenheit on Mars. Now, it's also extremely colder than that and extremely warmer to the point where you obviously would need a suit, but I just find the idea of it being 78 degrees on Mars and like being like perfect room temperature, how crazy would that be? Overall, Mars looks like a desert. It does have a massively tall mountain, significantly taller than Mount Everest, the tallest mountain that we have in our solar system. It is kind of a barren wasteland, but it does share several key characteristics that make it potentially livable. The size is very similar to Earth. It's not a gas planet, so we could potentially land on it. I gotta put it at number 4. You could argue it should be at number 2, depending on your criteria, but I go more so by beauty, and that's why I'm ranking it at number 4. But I would imagine, honestly, I think we should focus on the moon first, just because it's way closer than Mars and it seems way easier. Let's go to the moon. Let's get bases on the moon, US bases, and then we go to Mars after that. That's just my opinion. Moving on to number 3. It is Saturn. You could certainly argue it's the most beautiful planet, the ring system, just the way it looks. It is amazing. And I understand people putting this at number 1 or number 2 on their list, but for me, it's like the second or third most beautiful planet, so it comes in at number 3. It's also very massive as well, but obviously Saturn is known for the giant rings. I also remember the beautiful interstellar scene with Saturn where they're passing it. Remarkable. Moving on to number 2, it is Neptune, the forgotten planet, the furthest away planet in our solar system. Just such an amazing color. That photo that Voyager 2 got on the flyby of Neptune, what I would consider like a bright blue color, a dark blue, but it's bright. And then you've got the clouds, it's like completely clear, and then there's just one area with clouds. I just love that photo. That's one of my favorite photos that's ever been taken. It's just so beautiful, and just blue is my favorite color, especially that shade of blue. Neptune is just so gorgeous. Of course, the drawback is it's an ice giant. There's no way to land on it. It's extremely far away from Earth. Just all that blue. It almost looks like a water planet. Imagine if it was a water planet and you just see that with those little clouds, those beautiful white clouds on the one end of it. And yes, I have seen the so-called updated images of it to where it basically looks like a Uranus 2.0. That would be very disappointing. It's basically really light blue. That's like the updated imagery, and apparently, at least some people are saying it's not as dark blue. Obviously, it would move down my list if it's not really this dark blue as it appeared in that Voyager 2 imagery. It is an amazing looking planet. And then number 1, it has to be Earth, of course. Now, I do think Earth is top 2 or top 3 in terms of most beautiful planets. Other people would disagree. The main reason I think people disagree is because we're so used to looking at Earth, but no, Earth with the clouds and all of the water, along with the land masses, is just such a breathtaking planet. And then obviously, I mean, how can you not rank Earth number 1 by default? It is the only known planet that can really house us without having to have extracurriculars like suits and what have you. There are a few exoplanets out there, and I'm sure there are other planets in the universe that, actually, I have studied this, and supposedly Earth, in terms of livability for humans, it's about the 98th percentile. There are planets that could be more livable, that have freshwater oceans, but either way, Earth has to be number 1. The fact that it ranges in temperatures to where it's completely suits human needs and just plant needs and animal needs and really just life needs in general, it is number 1 on my list. So that is my official planet ranking video here for 2024. That's going to do it, guys. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.